A Japanese elementary school cafeteria. 400 children. Lunchtime. And once a week, something happens that would strike most Western parents as almost impossible to imagine. The food is served. The children sit down. And for 10 minutes, nobody speaks. No teacher enforces this. No rule is posted on the wall threatening consequences. The children simply eat. In silence. Together. 400 of them. Some as young as 6 years old. And here is what strikes every Western observer who witnesses this for the first time. The silence is not tense. It is not punitive. It is not the silence of suppression or fear. It is something else entirely. Something that takes a moment to name. And when you name it, it changes everything you think you know about what children are capable of and what they actually need. The silence is peaceful. Stay with me. Because what happens inside a child's brain during 10 minutes of quiet eating once a week is not a small thing. It is not a cultural curiosity. It is one of the most powerful and most overlooked tools in child development. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why. And you will have something concrete you can bring to your own table tonight. Let's start with what the modern child's mind is actually experiencing at mealtimes. Because this is the context that makes the Japanese practice so radical by comparison. Researchers at the University of Michigan studying attention and sensory load in school-aged children found that the average Western child experiences what they called continuous partial attention for the majority of their waking hours. Continuous partial attention is not distraction. It is something more subtle and more damaging. It is the state of a mind that is never fully anywhere. Always splitting its processing between the immediate environment and a background layer of noise, stimulation, or digital input. A child eating lunch while a television plays in the background. A child eating dinner while a parent scrolls their phone. A child sitting at a table where conversation is constant, where the meal is a stage for family logistics, homework reminders, schedule coordination. The food is present. The child is present. But the mind is nowhere it can rest. What continuous partial attention does to the developing brain over time is significant. It raises baseline cortisol. It reduces the brain's capacity for what neuroscientists call default mode network activation, the essential restorative mental state where the brain processes experience, consolidates memory, generates creativity, and regulates emotion. And it gradually, structurally reduces a child's capacity for sustained, single-pointed attention, the very capacity that underpins every form of academic and creative achievement. Japanese educators understood, long before neuroscience had language for this, that a mind needs silence the way a body needs sleep. Not occasionally. Regularly. Structurally. Built into the day as non-negotiable as the meal itself. The practice is called Mokushoku. Silent eating. And in the schools where it is practiced most consistently, it is treated not as a rule but as a ritual. A transition. A daily or weekly moment where the noise of the world is deliberately, collectively set aside and the simple act of eating is allowed to be exactly what it is. What Mokushoku does neurologically is now well documented. During periods of quiet, undistracted eating, the brain's default mode network activates. The prefrontal cortex, which has been managing the demands of the school day, begins to downregulate from its high alert state. Cortisol drops. The parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, engages. And the brain begins the process of integrating the morning's experiences into coherent memory. In simple terms, silent eating is not doing nothing. It is doing something that cannot happen while the mind is occupied. It is allowing the brain to catch up with itself. Researchers at the University of California studying mindful eating practices in children found that children who regularly experienced quiet, undistracted mealtimes showed measurably better interoceptive awareness, the ability to sense and respond to the body's own signals. They were more accurate at identifying hunger and fullness. They showed lower rates of disordered eating across adolescence. And they demonstrated significantly stronger emotional self-regulation compared to children whose mealtimes were consistently high-stimulation environments. The table, it turns out, is not just where we feed the body. It is where we teach the brain to listen to itself. But there is a second dimension of Mokushoku that the neuroscience alone doesn't capture. And it is the dimension that I find most quietly profound. Silent eating, practiced collectively, does something to a group of people that conversation cannot do. It creates a specific quality of shared presence. A we that doesn't need words to exist. In Japanese culture, the concept of negative space, meaningful emptiness, the pause that gives structure its meaning, runs through architecture, music, conversation, and daily life. Is the silence between notes that makes the melody. The empty room that makes the full room meaningful. The pause in conversation that carries more than words. Mokushoku is at the table. It is the deliberate creation of shared emptiness that paradoxically fills the room with something more substantial than noise. Children who practice this together are learning, at a level below language, that presence does not require performance. That being together does not require constant output. That silence between people who trust each other is not awkward. It is intimate. This is a form of social intelligence that Western children are increasingly never taught. In a culture where silence is anxiety-provoking, where every pause in conversation feels like a failure, where children are raised on the constant background hum of digital stimulation, the capacity to sit in comfortable silence with another person is becoming genuinely rare. And its absence is showing up in the epidemic of social anxiety, the inability to be alone without a screen, the desperate, exhausting performance of constant social engagement that characterizes so many adolescent and adult lives. Japanese children who eat in silence together once a week are building something that therapy will later try to rebuild in those who never had it. The knowledge, held in the body, that silence is safe. That presence without performance is enough. That you do not have to be doing something to deserve to be somewhere. There is one more thing I want to tell you about Mokushoku. Because it connects to something that every parent who has ever rushed through a family dinner will feel immediately. In Japan, the meal itself is treated as worthy of full attention. The food is tasted. The textures are noticed. The warmth of the bowl is felt. This is not precious. This is not performative mindfulness imported from a wellness magazine. This is the simple, radical act of being fully present for one of the most basic human experiences there is. And what children who are taught to be present for their food develop, gradually, without instruction, simply through the repeated experience of tasting rather than consuming, is a relationship with nourishment that is qualitatively different from the relationship formed at a distracted table. They develop gratitude. Not the stated gratitude of thank you for this meal. The felt gratitude of a body that knows it is being taken care of. That knows the difference between eating and nourishing. That carries that knowledge forward into every meal for the rest of its life. So here is your practical invitation. Not a rule. Not a program. An invitation. Once a week, at one meal, remove all screens from the table. Turn off the background noise. Let the meal begin in silence for 5 minutes. Not 10. Just 5. Sit with your child. Eat. Let the quiet be what it is. You do not need to explain it. You do not need to make it a lesson. Simply model it. Be the adult in the room who is not afraid of silence. Who finds it restful rather than threatening. Who eats their food and is simply, completely there. Watch what happens to your child across weeks and months of this practice. Watch the quality of their attention. Watch who they become at the table. Watch what they start to notice, the taste of things, the temperature of things, the texture of things, when the noise is finally still enough for them to notice anything at all. Mokushoku is not a school rule. It is an understanding about what the mind needs that most modern cultures have forgotten and Japanese schools have quietly protected. 10 minutes of silence. Once a week. 400 children eating together in peace. That peace is available to every table. Starting tonight. If this video gave you something to bring to your own table, share it with one parent who needed to hear it. Subscribe. Every week we go deep into the real psychology of how the world's greatest cultures raise children genuinely built to last. See you in the next one.